Hello there, Year 10. Good morning or afternoon, depending on when you are viewing this lesson. Act 3, Scene 1 again today. We're focusing on masculinity today, so the theme of masculinity amongst the men in this play. That should be our title, masculinity. Make sure you underline that in your exercise book, and also make sure you've got the date down as well, and underline that as well, as always. And I'll see you on the next slide. Okay, just before we move into the theme of masculinity, I thought we'd have a quick recap on the key ideas from Act 3, Scene 1 so far. So, first of all, in terms of writer's methods, the thing to focus on here is dramatic tension that's created, okay? Now, that's created through Benvolio and Mercutio's conversation, because the audience know that Mercutio is an argumentative character, and they know that if Tybalt arrives, which inevitably he will, there is likely to be an issue there and a confrontation is going to take place. So this idea of rising tension, and the audience can feel that tension, okay? Now, in terms of context, we're focusing on family honour really so far. That seems to be the biggest theme that's pushing its way through here. So that's because the audience already knows that Romeo has just married Juliet, okay? Now, the audience know why Romeo's behaving the way he is towards Tybalt and why he's not wanting to fight him. But Tybalt and Mercutio don't know that. So there's the issue there. And it's all about family honour and defending your family's name. Okay? So he wants to align himself with the Capulets because he feels that he has a duty as being part of the family, despite Tybalt not knowing that. And that's where the confusion begins. Okay? The quote to focus on here, Capulet, which name I tender as dearly as my own. Now, when we looked at that quote last lesson, we talked about the two different interpretations of tender. Well, I think there was three we looked at even. So go back at your notes quickly and just refresh yourself on those. Okay, and also that quote does link to quotes in Act 2 regarding family honour as well, in regards to taking a name and what a name means to these people. Okay. Final thing to think about in terms of key ideas is fate, okay? So even going back to the prologue, the idea of the star-crossed lovers, that is now beginning to be realised, okay? The two quotes to focus on regarding fate are as follows. This day's black fate on more days doth depend, oh, I am fortune's fool. Now, you should have taken some notes on both those quotes. Have a quick look back now in your book and see what you wrote down for those, just to familiarise yourself again and recap those ideas. Once you've done that, unpause and move on to the next slide. We're going to look at some of the ideas surrounding masculinity. Okay, so as you can see now, there is a table on the slide. I want you to draw that table into your exercise book with the three headings for the characters Mercutio, Romeo and Tybalt. Okay? Now once you've done that, you need to be thinking about these questions. So what does each of these three characters think about violence? So I want you to focus on what their motive and feeling is, specifically in Act 3, Scene 1, when they're thinking about, pardon me, when they're thinking about violence, okay? So, under each of these columns, just write a couple of ideas for each character and what you think their motive and feeling is in terms of violence, and think about what we've looked at so far in Act 3, Scene 1 and what happens and what they stand for as characters, okay? Once you've done that, go on to the next slide. On the next slide, you'll see some ideas that are there. Add those ideas to the ones you've got. If you've already got some of them, brilliant. If you've got others, that's also fantastic. Just add some of those ideas and familiarise yourself with the different thoughts on violence by each of these three characters, Mercutio, Romeo and Tybalt. And I'll see you on the next slide for the next activity. Okay, Year 10, now we're looking at a very small section of Act 3, Scene 1. This is when Mercutio has already been stabbed and his injuries are for all to see, and he's just talking to Romeo about what's happened and how he actually feels about this feud and who he holds responsible for his imminent death. You'll see there's five lines that we're going to focus on. and there's questions to go with each of those. A couple of questions on question 1, a couple on 2, 1 on 3 and 1 on 4. So you've got 6 questions to answer in total. Please use those questions to help you write down your own notes. Remember, just use those to make answers in note form in your book. Now you can write out the quote and annotate it from there like a quote explosion, or if you've got the text, then you can obviously annotate the text and highlight it. Either of those is absolutely fine, just as long as myself and Mrs. Gardner are able to obviously see that when you upload your work. So go ahead and do that now. Once you've done that, on the next slide, as always, there's some ideas and notes and answers to some of these questions to help you add to the notes that you've already made on this slide. That's everything for today. Once you've done that, well done, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Over and out.